People often have misconceptions about online ministry, and I think that starts with thinking that there's not real ministry and it's not real relationship. But I think that's a mindset that we've been trapped into because we've done it differently before then. But if we just start to look around at what has happened over the years, over the decades, we'll begin to realize that online relationships are real relationships. So I'm sure maybe you don't know one personally, but you probably know someone who met online. Now they're not living their life by, staying online. They met in person at some point if that relationship is going to lead to marriage. But many people met online. It was still a real relationship. It was still developing. If we go back even further, pen pals. Pen pals were a thing that I remember when I was in school. And I remember hearing stories of people that had pen pals for like 40 and 50 years. Do you want to tell me that pen pals weren't a real relationship? I really struggle with that idea that a pen pal was not a real relationship. It was real. It was genuine. It was just different than an in-person relationship. It had different limitations on that. It had different scope of that. The same way that a grandparent and a grandkid is a different relationship than your spouse. There's limitations on it. It happens in a different way. It happens in a different setting. It happens in a different time frame. There's all kinds of constraints on relationships. So to put a restraint on a relationship that says it can't be digital and then it's not real when it's digital, we really have to shift our thinking about that. And I'll give you one more. Paul wrote a letter to Romans when he had not yet been to Rome. Was that letter to Romans not a real relationship with that church? I think Paul had a real relationship from a distance with that church. He was using the technology of the day to communicate with them, to embrace them, to lift them up, to encourage them, and to give instruction we're still using today. And by that logic, if that wasn't what Paul was doing, we shouldn't read the Bible at all because I have no relationship with the author. I have never met anybody that wrote the scriptures. So if I put that barrier in, which I'm extrapolating, you might disagree with me, I'm extrapolating that as the same barrier of not being in person of a relationship that I have with someone who is across the world, across the globe, that I only meet digitally, that I may never be in person with, but frankly, it's still genuine. I share with them what's going on in life. I know what's going on in their life. I have a friend who is in Europe, who is a missionary in Ukraine and other places, and I get updates from him of what's going on. So I know what's going on in his life and I can join him in prayer. So when I can do that, like we've done with missionaries, and we just shift to doing it digitally, it's a real relationship. We're just changing where we're meeting for relationship.